Saturday, everybody. It is April the 6th. Welcome to the latest installment of the Tech Debts This Week in Tech Layoffs. It's been another interesting week. Handful of fairly large, more prominent companies doing layoffs or announcing layoffs in this past week. It was kind of quiet overall as far as from hearing from some of the major companies in terms of cutbacks and layoffs. And here we are now with a few big things to update on. So let's just get right into it. From CRN, Intel confirms layoffs in their sales and marketing group. Intel, another big Silicon Valley company, household name, really, been around for a long time. At one point was making all of the chips for Apple, along with most of the PCs, or a large portion of PCs, alongside obviously AMD as one of their primary competitors. As things transpired over the last decade for Intel, they've been kind of on I would say a bit of a decline. Obviously, they have an incredible amount of intellectual property with their hardware. Business-wise, I think they've struggled. Apple made the decision several years ago now to essentially part ways with them and go back to creating all of their silicon in-house. This computer I'm currently using is an Apple silicon machine, and I have to say that was a very smart decision for Apple because there is a massive difference in the performance level of the Apple Silicon compared to all of their machines that were running Intel, which they've been doing for, I think it was like 15 years almost, 12 to like 15 years. Intel was actually, the primary chip for all of Apple's computers. So I digress a little bit, but let's get into the article here. Intel, they initiated a new round of layoffs this week that affected an unspecified number of employees in its sales and marketing group. Spokesperson for the Santa Clara County, California-based chipmaker confirmed on Thursday that it has made job cuts as part of a reorganization, but did not provide any further details. The sales and marketing group is led by Christoph Schell, who is Intel's chief commercial officer. He says, quote, "With the objective of continuing to deliver on company strategy and drive outcomes for its customers, Intel's sales and marketing group announced changes to its organizational structure." He also says, "We are confident in Intel's future and are committed to supporting all employees through this process, including treating impacted employees with dignity and respect." Good boilerplate info from the executive in charge of the group being cut, or where the cuts are taking place. In addition, in an additional statement to CRN, Jason Kimray, Vice President of Intel's North America Commercial and Partner Sales Org, said the chipmakers' partners remain a critical part of Intel's transformation, and we will continue to invest and grow with them in the future. This is the latest round of layoffs to hit Intel since CEO Pat Gelsinger announced in October 2022 that the semiconductor giant planned to cut spending by as much as $10 billion through 2025 to weather an abrupt and pronounced slowdown in demand. More of the same from a lot of these companies. There is a very tangible, real, I would say almost cross-business, cross-industry, cross-vertical sentiment that demand is going to be getting crushed or is already crushed and will continue to do so. A lot of the big companies, obviously, especially big tech companies, just kind of had their share of the landscape business-wise across the globe, are cutting back and playing some pretty significant defense, which, this just kind of follows typical business cycles, right? Generally speaking. The company has not said how many employees they have laid off since that announcement. In 2022. The only numbers disclosed by Intel have been regarding individual layoff rounds impacting 50 or more employees within the 30-day period at its offices in California, as required by the state's WARN notification. For those of you who don't know, the WARN system, I guess you could call it's not really a system, but it's a requirement that California has where if you are laying off 50 or more people within a 30-day period in California, however big your company is, you have to file a notice to the state, basically making it public that you're going to do this. The layoffs were enacted the same week Intel outlined a new financial reporting structure that separates the company's product design business from its chip manufacturing operations, revealing that the former suffered from a $7 billion operating loss last year. That is a lot of money to lose in 1 year. Intel is separating the business in a bid to turn its chip-making arm, now known as Intel Foundry, into an independent contract chip manufacturing business that competes with Asian foundry giants TSMC and Samsung. When it announced the new financial reporting structure on Tuesday, the company said Intel Foundry's operating losses are expected to peak in 2024 as it completes Gelsinger's node acceleration plan. The chip manufacturing business is expected to achieve break-even operating margins midway between now and the end of 2030, when it targets 40% non-GAAP gross margins and 30% non-GAAP operating margins. I don't know what those metrics are, but general sentiment here is playing defense, cutting back, expecting there to be a contraction in demand over the next few years and a need to save a lot of money. That's just what happens when you have a decade plus of a surplus, really. All right, so that's Intel for you. So let's move on to some Apple news that they shared, and this was kind of a big one. Apple has not really been making cuts for a while, over a year, which it mentions here in the article. But let's get into the details here. Apple's layoff, they're cutting 600 jobs, or I should say they've announced that they cut 600 jobs, which followed the ending of their car project, right? So there was a correlation here, and I think this kind of affirms that. There were some questions about that earlier in the week when they first announced this, whether it was very much directly connected to that project. Now we kind of know that it is. So from Fast Company here, the article says, since late 2022, every major tech company has initiated mass layoffs with the exception of Apple, but now that is finally about to change. According to information the iPhone maker filed with California's EDD, the company is, which is the warn notification thing that we just talked about for that Intel. The company is preparing to let go more than 600 employees. Here's what you need to know about Apple's first mass layoff in recent years. Why is Apple laying off their employees? Layoff appear to mostly involve a specific group of Apple employees, some of those who worked on the company's electric vehicle project. Apple never publicly acknowledged the existence of its work on an EV, but the company spent nearly a decade trying to bring an Apple car to market. So I feel like they did this this is at least the second time, but it might even be the third time. There was sort of varying degrees of how Apple basically, there was leaks of this car project, and some of that was to do with the job postings that were being listed, because I think this goes all the way back to like 2015 was when this first started being a thing, 2015 or 2016, but people were just noticing job postings on Apple's job board for like very vehicle-centric positions, engineering positions, and then some more details started to come out about their operation in like Sunnyvale, where the operation itself was based out of Sunnyvale, and some like larger lab facilities were being leased by Apple, which kind of didn't align for a company that makes personal electronics. They were, investing in these larger scale facilities. There was never really any good detail publicly from the company or any announcements from the company. There was information that kind of was leaking out into the press over the years following 2015 about certain executives that were being brought in. I think they had even said at one point they brought in like the original Mac executive who oversaw the Mac way back in the day. They brought him like out of retirement to kind of run this new, secret project. And then that lasted like a year, not even a year, and he went back to retirement or something. He gave up on it. There was a lot of like unofficial information that was coming out for a while, and then at a point there was this announcement or some information that came out a couple years into that, basically saying like they were, ending it and people were being laid off. So this kind of happened already a few years back, but it wasn't as significant as this. So it sounds like they kind of got back into it, or they never fully undid it, and they were maybe pivoting, changing directions a few years back. And it sounds like they were kind of pursuing something more recently in these last couple years, and now, unfortunately, are basically right back where they started. The article continues. Earlier this year, Apple reportedly finally killed off its EV project. We'll see, right? Because this is actually like the second time that this has been announced. Previous reports have said as many as 2,000 employees were working on the company's car ambitions. Most of the employees being laid off by Apple now seem to be those who worked on its car project. According to the WARN notification system with California's EDD, Apple says 614 employees are being laid off under California law. Yes, they must file the WARN thing. We already talked about that. So they filed that March 28, 2024, and with an effective date of May 27th. So it's they have a bit of a buffer time here before the actual layoffs go into effect. So I'm sure they're giving people obviously time to find other roles within the company. I would assume many roles are going to be on the design or mechanical engineering side, especially if you're doing a car. Certainly, those skill sets are valuable in other parts of the company. Mechanical engineering is useful for, anything physically designed, any kind of physical computer, electronic device, all of that. It's all useful there. It doesn't appear that Apple is laying off all of its car employees. The company reportedly had around 2,000 employees working on its car project. I don't know how they can know that with how secret it's been, so not too sure where that info would have come from to be even close to an estimate. 2,000 seems pretty high, I guess. But again, if they've been sort of spinning this back up over the last few years, you could certainly hire up to about 2,000 people, even after they already had kind of ended the project and shut it down back in whatever that was, 2017 or 2018 or whatever. That means the layoffs will impact about 30% of the Apple Car Group. It has been previously reported that some of the Apple Car Group has been transferred to other departments within Apple working on AI. Apple also reportedly gave Apple Car employees the option of applying for other roles in the company. Kind of still, like not 100% confirmed what exactly is going on. All signs point to they are undoing this car project or significantly reducing, or I should say significantly extending the time frame that they might be trying to produce a car product within. So that's Apple. Alrighty, this kind of broke later in the day yesterday, or I saw some of this info. We didn't quite get to it in time when it was happening, but I thought it was semi-relevant. I mean, it is retail, but obviously, Geek Squad is very much focused within tech, and it's a technical support group inside of Best Buy as a retail company. But anyways, Best Buy Geek Squad employees reporting mass layoffs. This is from The Verge. So the article says former employees of Best Buy's in-house tech support and repair team, Geek Squad, say there were mass layoffs this week. A former Geek Squad agent tells the outlet that they received an email on Tuesday about a work-from-home event the following day regarding a company change. Our leadership gave an individual calls stating that they were being let go for the simple fact that the company couldn't afford to pay us. It was extremely short notice and devastating, one of the ex-Geek Squad members reported over on Reddit, the Geek Squad Reddit page. A recently laid off Geek Squad agent posted photos of their badges in solidarity and referred to themselves as belonging to a Geek Squad sleeper cell, writing that they are going sleeper along with their location and badge number. The Verge has reached out to the company for more details about the layoffs and will update if they hear back. During the company's last earnings call in February, Best Buy CEO Corey Barry said to expect layoffs this year as part of a push to redirect corporate resources to make sure we have the necessary assets dedicated to areas like AI and other elements of our strategy. Oh my gosh. What is AI going to do for Best Buy other than the actual phone and internet email based customer service facet? What does AI do for a company like Best Buy that it wouldn't necessarily do for any other retail company? There's nothing special about their business model that is novel compared to any other retail operation. So I think it's just more of the same CEO speak in light of just having to basically get rid of people because they're out of money or their finances have not been managed well. Obviously, a lot of people weren't expecting things to get this severe financially, economically. So that's certainly a big part of everything going on here. It's definitely kind of come out of the blue after a lot of the stimulus money, a lot of the money printing over the last few years. But interest rates are really crushing people, so demand is dropping. It's a very simple equation at the end of the day. So whether that is the result of lower industry sales or due to decisions we made, like evolving our paid membership benefits, as far as why, Barry, the CEO, referenced multiple, quote, macro factors affecting consumer spending on electronics, including a drop in sales following heightened demand during the pandemic, and that, honestly, really, right now, there isn't any massive current innovation that would spur you to go buy a new laptop. Other than if you are still on an old Intel laptop and have not jumped over to an Apple Silicon Mac, that is actually a good reason to change. If you are on an Intel, I would highly recommend upgrading to a Apple Silicon computer if you are not. It is literally a massive difference. Absolutely massive. Yeah, I mean, the macro factors, that's, interest rates, demand dropping, stimulus money running out, all of the forced reset, reshuffling, handouts, bailouts from 2020 now have, the dust has kind of settled around that. And now we're just kind of finally getting back to natural free market factors, I think, in response to all of that. And also people are being way more cautious in how they spend. So retail gets hit really hard in those types of situations. And obviously inflation, pricing is really high. So people are gonna forego, upgrading their TV. And I think there's just a kind of cycle here, right? So the big innovators of TV technology, they're going to cut back on R&D. They're going to scale back where they need to just kind of like hold things down for the next couple years, which means there's not going to be any revolutionary new stuff coming out, more than likely, other than things they've maybe already planned for the next year or two in terms of, iterative technological upgrades to different things like a TV. But anything radically new, is probably going to get delayed further and further. So there's less of a reason to upgrade your TV. But then also, you wouldn't upgrade your TV because it's just money you don't have to spend or shouldn't be spending. So it's a nice little cycle that unfolds there. Bray called out Geek Squad repair operations, specifically saying our fiscal 2025 initiatives are focused on driving further efficiencies across forward and reverse supply chain, our Geek Squad repair operations, and our customer care experience. We will continue to lean heavily on analytics and technology to achieve these efficiencies. This includes leveraging AI safely and effectively. Whatever. I get so put off by the CEOs all talking about AI right now, and just the most like disjointed, uncontextualized ways, right? They just throw the word in there. Well, we're going to use AI. Cool. Like, what does that mean? Like, none of them are ever specific when they talk about it. Another area she's looking at is health, mentioning Best Buy Health as an area where we are leveraging our expertise and our Geek Squad agents to capitalize on the growing use of technology to help provide health care in homes. So Geek Squad, the remaining Geek Squad employees, congratulations, you are going to now be Best Buy sponsored home healthcare aides, whatever that looks like. So that's terrifying, to be honest. I do not want a Geek Squad employee showing up at my house doing a blood transfusion for me. No, I'm just kidding. That's not actually what's happening here. The quote, right sizing also includes the physical space in stores, where she confirmed Best Buy will be removing physical media and updating our mobile digital imaging, computing tablets, and smart home departments. Numerous former and current Geek Squad employees on Reddit over the years noted the high turnover rate associated with the job due to its relatively low pay and slim prospects of promotion. Based on 231 salaries, Glassdoor estimated a pay range of $16 to $21 per hour for a Geek Squad agent. This estimate appears to be accurate based on the listed open roles at Best Buy's website. For example, there's currently an active listing for a Geek Squad city supervisor in Kentucky with an hourly pay range of $20 to $30 an hour. An opening for an entry-level Geek Squad agent at a store in California has an hourly pay range of $15 to $19 an hour. Geek Squad work is like the absolute most bottom end sort of IT technical support work you could ever do in any kind of corporate environment, right? Like, it is the juniorest of junior work roles. So in a world where, we kind of do just throw things away, old electronics, we don't use them anymore. We throw them away. We give them away. We try to sell them for, 10% of what we paid full retail on them. It's just, it's just not the mentality anymore of like having things get repaired, refreshed. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time now, we just replace it, right? We just go buy a new thing. If something breaks, a computer breaks, stops working, a TV breaks, stops working, but for trying to get the warranty out of something, if it's within warranty, which even that's still annoying enough, like, I don't know if anyone's ever had to do that, but I had a TV that the display went out within like 3 months. It was just a bad, like truly a defective product. It was a Sony TV. It was a nice TV. It was expensive. But like the warranty process was like super annoying. I had to find some, one of the two currently existing TV repair businesses out there in the world. It took them forever to come. They had to actually come to the house, diagnose the problem, or at least decide whether like, okay, yeah, this is truly now a replacement situation, or could it be repaired? And it just took weeks. It was like weeks of time to just, get in contact with the manufacturer, go through that process, have them, the repair company talk to the manufacturer, and then have the manufacturer circle back with me to tell them what the findings were, and then what the, ultimately the decision was going to be that, okay, they'll just replace it with a new one. But it's just, who wants to do that, right? You just throw the thing away, typically. Throw the thing away, recycle it, and go buy a new one. So that's Best Buy Geek Squad. Again, retail generally is getting hammered, so not a big surprise that the sort of technical side, tech support side of that business would be impacted pretty heavily. Alrighty, and the last little thing here that we came across from April 3rd, a OpenAI backed Ghost Autonomy. Ghost is the company. Ghost Autonomy is the company. They are shutting down. So from TechCrunch here, article says Ghost Autonomy, a startup working on autonomous driving software for automaker parts, has shut down. The startup, which had raised nearly $220 million. That's a lot. That's pretty good for a startup. On its website, posted a note on its website that it ended worldwide operations and wound down the company as of Wednesday. The company employed about 100 people and had its operations in Mountain View, Dallas, and Sydney. Quote from the company: "We are proud of the substantial technical innovations and progress the Ghost team made on its mission to deliver software-defined consumer autonomy." The note on its website reads, "The path to long-term profitability was uncertain given the current funding climate and long-term investment required for autonomy development and commercialization. We are exploring potential long-term destinations for our team's innovations. The shutdown comes just 5 months since the startup partnered with OpenAI through the OpenAI Startup Fund to gain early access to OpenAI systems and Azure resources from Microsoft. Ghost also received a $5 million investment from OpenAI. It most recently closed a $55 million down round last year that included early investors Keith Raboy at Founders Fund and Mike Spicer at Sutter Hill Ventures. At the time, Ghost co-founder and CEO John Hayes touted the company's plans to explore the applications of multimodal language models, AI models that can understand text as well as images. In self-driving, he argued that LLMs offered a way to understand the long tail, adding reasoning to complex scenes where current models fall short. Experts are skeptical. We're skeptical of the approach. I think, like I've said, there's kind of just another. It speaks to, again, the reality of this AI situation that is upon us. There will be probably, my guess is less than 5 companies that actually are true core AI companies. So these would be companies that are actually the owners of the AI brain, the LLMs, like it talks about here, the actual true foundational databases that these AI brains are on and exist within, the data centers that they live on. There's only going to be a few companies that actually have the resources and the expertise and the infrastructure needed to build that kind of stuff. Tesla's obviously an example of this, right? So those 3 or 5 or 6 companies, whatever it's going to be, they are just going to license out the AI capabilities to every other company, every other brand. They will set up services, service models, platform models of business, subscription models, enterprise models that service all of the other industries that want to, start leveraging AI, as a lot of them are saying. And that's going to be it. And it's really hard, as this company, Ghost Automation, has discovered. It's really hard to build up the necessary database, the necessary amount of input to create from scratch a truly useful AI system, right? So a lot of companies are doing it now. They're trying to do it, and some of them will probably find their little niches that they can fill with their particular LLM, and they'll hopefully be able to license that out. But again, you need such a massive amount of data coming in that is then tagged and basically what's the word, made accurate, right? Because a lot of times any of these computer vision systems, they're reading stuff out in the world, they're making an assumption, and that assumption is wrong. Well, you need somebody on the backside in a company to tag it and actually correct it, and then feed it back into the brain, this AI brain, with true correct information that it can actually learn from accurately. So it's just a massive undertaking to do a core AI system, from scratch, foundational technology. Most everybody's just going to end up leveraging somebody else's core AI that they've developed from scratch and spent years feeding tons and tons of data that they've been able to gather. And there's only a few companies that can do that at this point. That pretty much covers this week in the tech layoffs situation. So I think we're going to continue to see a lot more of these types of things occurring. The general landscape of layoffs, even outside of tech, has been pretty significant. Lots of companies doing layoffs. And, tech has been, I think, there's been a large proportion of the layoffs in tech as compared to previous years, of course. And so to an extent, some of this is just part of the cycle, right? Part of the economic cycle that we're in. But we'll continue to watch things. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, stay informed of things, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.